What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. I'm fan service Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella.
Today, we're going to talk about cosplay life after quarantine. We are at 4 months and a week or two.
Some change, yeah.
Yeah, 4 months and some change into quarantine.
I don't even know what day it is.
True that. A lot of people are losing their minds, cosplayers especially. People have been dying to go to cons and dying to go to social events. Unfortunately, most of the U.S. is trash and don't know how to follow quarantine procedures.
Nope.
No preventative measures. And the messed up thing is, we are pretty much banned from everywhere else in the world. Since the U.S. can't quarantine themselves, the rest of the world is doing it for us. We are on quarantine and stuck in our own country. The European Union has already announced they're not letting Americans travel over there. A lot of people are like, oh, big deal. I don't go to Europe anyway. I'm going to go to Spain. Spain's in Europe, dumbass.
I got news for you.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Fine, Greece. That's also part of the European Union. That just goes to show how stupid some people are. Okay, I get it. Some people don't care about traveling to Europe. But I know some weebs care about traveling to Japan.
And guess what?
Guess what? We're not going there either. Japan and a few other Asian countries have also said, here is a list of countries that people cannot travel from to here. Unfortunately, that includes the U.S. We're not completely banned from entering some Asian countries, but there are strict guidelines, such as mandatory government 14-day quarantine.
Damn.
Which means you show up, they quarantine you in a location of their choosing, and you pay for it. I was reading it's like $100 a night at their facility. 14 days. That's already most people's vacations, to be stuck somewhere for 14 days. Then, to make things worse, certain states have said that they're not going to let people travel there either. New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and one more East Coast state in that area. They're like, we've done such a great job containing COVID in our states. Why would we let you dirty Floridians, Texans, Arizonans, Californians into our state?
Right.
Which makes sense. If your state did a good job of quarantining themselves, why would you want people to bring their cooties across state lines?
I don't blame them. I think it's an excellent idea. It's the only way to get Americans to sit still.
Yeah. Most people won't ever travel overseas in their lives, so they don't care if we can never leave this country. But yeah, if you can't go to like a neighboring state, that may start to hurt.
Yeah. I saw that too. Chicago's talking the same thing, and I'm so glad.
That trickles down to the cosplay world. Most states have not hit phase 4. Phase 4 in most states mean you can have large gatherings, such as conventions. My question is, when is the earliest convention you would feel safe going to? It's July right now. Anime Expo was supposed to be this weekend, got canceled. San Diego Comic-Con's been canceled. But Dragon Con is still on the list of cons that haven't been canceled. That's Labor Day weekend. That's 2 months away. Would you feel safe going to a massive convention such as Dragon Con?
Oh, yeah. I know about Dragon Con.
Yeah.
It's one of the cons that were on my list. But answer to your question is, hell no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That is a lot of people. The parade's one thing, but even that, you're still crowded by people. Even your local marching band high school parades are full of people.
Even if it was someone I trusted, even if it was someone I don't know, I just would not go to these things. Even if the convention was full of nothing but my close friends or my family and stuff like that, I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You could have the virus and end up giving it to somebody else and not even know it. And those are the things that go through my mind, and that's what makes me paranoid about going out even to the grocery store. So you might not see it, smell it, can't touch it, whatever. It's still there. And regardless of what's opening up, what's going on, I'm going to keep my butt at home.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
I've been having talks with people about this. Some people are ready to jump back in it. I'm just amazed, how?
People are just excited because they haven't done it in a while, but you got to think about your health too.
Yeah.
People don't care I feel like nobody cares anymore.
Attending a con is one thing. Like, say you're just an attendee.
Right.
Like, how do you even work in cosplay? Say they do allow you to go back in and you have to wear a mask. Are you going to wear a mask over your cosplay, defeating the purpose of some of your makeup and your costume pieces?
Isn't that the whole point of wearing the cosplay, though? Is so you could show it off and not be constricted by outside clothes and weird stuff. But if you could only go to a convention, but you still wanted to dress up, but you had to wear a mask with that cosplay, would you really go?
Would you wear it and then be the douche that takes it off real quick for pictures? Is that okay to even do that?
I don't think it would be.
I mean, especially indoors, because it's going to be a domino effect. One person will see you do it, you take it on and off.
Yeah.
People will bring up the argument, well, how am I supposed to drink water? I got to take my mask off.
Then if it's that complicated for you, then you might as well just stay home.
And speaking of that, I got that from a couple Disneyland forums. There's groups of Disney fanatics out there really trying to find life hacks on how to get around wearing a mask in Disneyland. It's so serious that some of these people are just like, well, just carry a bottle of water and pretend like you're about to take a drink anytime you get harassed by security. Is it that serious? I can just see the same excuse at cons. You're not willing to wear a mask in public, but you're willing to carry a bottle of water just to pretend you're going to drink it.
Exactly.
Why can't that same effort go towards practicing social distancing and wearing a mask?
If it's already to the point where you have to find loopholes to do something that you love,
it's
already at that point of no return.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable going, I don't even know, down the street somewhere. If that's the mentality people already have, then stay home. Invite your family over and risk yourselves getting sick together. But don't go out into the public risking everybody's health. Like, if I wanted to go to Disneyland and I was willing to follow the rules and wear a mask and all the guidelines and everything like that, you're going to look a douchebag next to someone like me who's just trying to have a good time. But here you are pretending to drink water just because you want to talk to your friends. And, you know, it's not even worth all that. At the end of the day, just stay home.
Because what's happening is all these states are opening up and being forced to close right back. Mayors and governors are like, yeah, maybe we messed up. So can you guys try to wear masks again? And it's hard to go back and tell people that.
Right.
It's like, I'm sorry, but it's like, I have friends who know better, college educated friends who know better, who understand what's going on, and they still don't do it either.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, well, my state opened up. Yeah, I believe that this COVID shit is real, but oh, well, I expected like, you know, the country bumpkins living under a rock kind of people not to care or know, but educated people, it's like y'all woke, but you're trying to be too over woke.
Exactly.
All the people that think like COVID's fake and they think it's this conspiracy from the government. You really think the Chinese government and other parts of the world is all part of this American conspiracy to make us follow the man and listen to the rules?
I don't think they care about us that much.
Right? Chinese care.
I really don't
Chinese
think so.
government gives no shits about us. During this quarantine, what changes in the cosplay community have you seen? Like, what have you observed, like, behavior-wise?
Well, first of all, I've noticed everyone stopped cosplaying. Nobody's cosplaying anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone's just posting their old pictures from a time way back when everyone was happy and everything. But nobody's posting pictures anymore. No one's making anything new. I'm noticing creators aren't creating anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you like cosplay? Don't you love it so much that, like, before this quarantine stuff happened, everyone was just creating cosplay to, like, just make something new, and they just wanted to make a new character that they loved and stuff like that, but no one's doing that anymore. Not even on some hobby shit. Like, they're just not doing anything. So I just feel like this quarantine and this COVID thing has gotten everybody just down in the dumps, and I just kind of feel like this is the time to do so. You have nothing but time to create, but I guess people just don't have their heads in it anymore.
There's layers to that. I've noticed that too. And it's got me feeling like different types of ways. And I know some people may get mad at what I'm about to say. First off, let's start with one layer. Let's start with cos famous or like super popular cosplayers, right? A lot of people are out here claiming they love cosplay. It's their favorite thing in the world and they're doing it just because they love it. Then all of a sudden, there's no cons to go to. There's
Right.
no one to show this costume to.
There's no one to impress.
No one to impress. All of a sudden, they just stop cosplaying. If it's something you quote unquote love, now that you have time to make new stuff, as you said, why wouldn't you make it?
Right.
So it brings up to a question to me, like, do you really love cosplay or do you love the attention from cosplay?
Exactly.
I get the whole thing that people aren't inspired to create and stuff like that, but I get the whole thing when people are saying they're just not inspired, just everything that's going on in the world, they're kind of down and out. Okay, we get that. It's like everyone isn't expected to be inspired all the time. I'm just talking about this certain demographic of people that way before quarantine, they were all up about cosplay and that's their whole world. I just refuse to believe if that's your whole world, it would just suddenly just stop.
Right.
You're still occupying your time doing other things. You're probably still playing video games or watching movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a big part of your world too, but the only thing that stopped was the cosplay aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Because from me personally, of course, I love making new cosplay to debut at a convention and show people and stuff like that. Like that part is fun, yes, but I get my joy from making the cosplay itself. And that's just me speaking as a creator, like an actual creator who loves to create no matter what's going on in the world. I had a full-time job. I was coming home late. I was doing this and that, whatever, but I still had time for my hobbies, stuff that I love to do. So I kind of feel like, did you really like making cosplay? Did you really like doing those things? Because now all of a sudden, you're just not doing it at all. And it's been 4 months and how long, is honestly, I don't get it.
Yeah. Let's take that a step further. Not everyone is in the mood to make something. That's fine. There's still other ways to enjoy cosplay.
Yeah.
Throw on something you already have. People complain all the time. I make a cosplay and then I only wear it once.
Yeah.
Well, now you got time to wear it again. A lot of us would love to work with our favorite photographers at this time and we can't. But that doesn't mean you still can't make TikTok videos, do a live stream in cosplay. You could still hang out with your friends in cosplay. Yes, it's not the full con experience, but you're still with your peers.
Right.
There's people who go to cons and only hang out with just their small group of friends. What's the difference of being at home and doing that?
Exactly.
One last note about that. I've seen the opposite end of the spectrum too. Some people are just going ham. They're making new cosplays, doing self photo shoots, and nothing's stopping them. There's the other end where people aren't making cosplays and they're not even doing anything cosplay wise. It's just like they've just quit.
They're not making them. They're not buying them. They're not doing anything of the sort. Not even closet cosplays. Nothing.
Nothing at all. And that just blows me away. And it also makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
Not being at a con hasn't really hindered my cosplay experience. I'm still doing shoots at home. I'm still making stuff, and that's my satisfaction.
Right.
Quick disclaimer, I'm not trying to knock on everyone that hasn't created or done much cosplay since quarantine, but y'all can still enjoy it somehow. If y'all truly love it as much as you say you do, you can find a way to enjoy it.
Right.
What did we do this weekend? We watched the Anime Expo Light live streams.
Yeah.
I was surprisingly captivated by it. I thought I was just going to turn it on, pop in, support my favorite cosplayers streaming. I found myself watching all their live streams of that day.
Yeah. It gives you hope.
Yeah.
It kind of reignites your excitement for being at a convention.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to one in months, and just watching that really did reignite my excitement for hopes of going back eventually.
It really did.
Yeah.
At first, I scoffed at like the virtual con stuff. I'm like, virtual con? I'm not going to pretend I'm at a convention.
Right.
Fortunately, some panels were being hosted by some of my favorite cosplayers. I'm like, you know what? Let me tune in. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. I was like, wow, okay, this is another way I can enjoy cosplay during this quarantine.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the Anime Expo live streams?
I liked it. I kind of had the same thoughts as you. Like, I didn't know how I was going to feel about that because I'm just like, whatever. I don't really watch TV like that. So I'm also on the fence with watching something virtual going on the internet. So I'm just like, whatever. But lo and behold, I checked it out and it happened to be really pleasant.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Because sometimes when I go to a convention and I go to like the cosplayers where they have all the cosplayers with their booths and everything, cosplay corner, whatever they call it. Every time I go to one of those things, I don't actually get to talk
Yeah.
to those cosplayers. I don't get to know those people.
Mhm.
And it was refreshing to hear them speak and hear the sound of their voices, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't ever go up there to talk to them. Like, I'll support by buying something and I'll just go pop in, pop out because they have other people that they need
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
talk
Sometimes,
to.
sometimes you just got to keep it moving.
Right. So it was great to see, for example, people like Yaya Han who has lines around the whole block
Mhm.
waiting to see her, and it was nice to hear what she had to say and to really listen, to really grasp like who she really is,
Yeah.
what she really is about.
If that same panel was live at the con,
Yeah.
you probably couldn't even get inside
Right.
because some of these panels fill up quickly.
Yes.
If you're not in line waiting, then you're screwed.
That too. And what they had to say to each other, Yaya and Phil, those are questions that I wouldn't personally ask myself. So they had a section where they had a Q&A, and a lot of those questions were really good questions. And those are things that I wouldn't think about on the spot. Like, I'm waiting in line to see either one of them for hours, and I finally get there, and I'm just like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And so it was a good experience to hear those questions being answered and hear them talk about certain things that I never would have really even thought of asking them.
With everything that's going on, how do you think conventions will change in the future?
For one, personally, I will refrain from shaking anyone's hand, taking any hugs, any kind of like physical interaction. Just no, nix that.
Yeah. No disrespect, but all the disrespect. A lot of weebs are dirty and gross to begin with.
I know no one showers anymore.
Yeah. Like Confunk plus the COVID virus?
Yeah, they kind of don't mix. No, but I think
Super cooties.
on a serious note, I think there's going to be rules, but I don't believe people are going to follow them, especially bigger conventions like Anime Expo, Dragon Con. People just go in, do what they need to do, and then...
I mean, there's like too many people to like personally
Yeah.
regulate like that. It's hard enough just to keep the peace.
unless they're only going to have a certain amount of people go in at a time, which, again, I don't think anyone's going to follow that. At some point, they're just going to rate the doors. And
Like a limit cap to the
Yeah.
convention in general. I mean, yeah, Anime Expo pulled in, 150,000 people last year?
Yeah, I don't think people wait long enough in the lines to get their badges, but I don't think they're gonna wait that long to get inside just to do one or two things. And with that being said, if that were to happen, if there was like a limit to how many people could go in, I don't think people are gonna leave in a timely manner.
That's true.
People are gonna be stuck outside waiting just to get in.
That's true. Anime Expo last year and the year before, I remember how long it took to get inside.
Yeah.
Once we got inside, we're like, no, we're staying in here.
Yeah.
We're not going back out. We even sucked it up a couple times and just bought food within the convention
Yeah.
and spent more money to eat like bullcrap, really. I didn't even go outside to see friends half the time. I was like, no,
No.
dude. It took me an hour to get in. You come in here and tell me when you get in here.
I think that was the same year where I didn't even go outside at all either. And I love going outside and walking around and doing like a 360 kind of thing, like going around the convention, because that's how you maximize your experience.
Yeah,
But
or just sometimes just to get from one hall to the next, it's better to walk outside and avoid like the crowds inside the small hallways.
and that's a good point, because I'm already like that in general. Even before this whole COVID thing, I didn't want to be in groups of people
Yeah.
because you can't get through those congested hallways. I don't want people really necessarily touching my cosplay, because
Yeah.
I tend to do really big cosplay with big props and everything. So I just don't want to be in anyone else's ways and people breaking my stuff and whatever. So I'll go outside and purposely avoid crowds. But if I'm already like that, then I can't
Oh,
go
yeah.
to these conventions
I remember
during
the
COVID.
I remember the year that you thought it was a good idea to be Falcon
Yeah, with
at
the
Anime
wings.
Expo with your
Yeah.
6-foot wingspan.
So I don't think it's a good idea for me to go to these conventions
That was so
personally.
funny. I remember trying to talk you out of it. I'm like, you sure you want to be Falcon? What we had to do when Shana was Falcon was this. First, we had to make the wings foldable. But even with them folding, they still protrude like a foot or two outside of Shana's shoulders.
Yeah.
So she's already like 4 feet wide walking in a hallway, and she really doesn't fit through a doorway, so she has to turn sideways. But then once we got her in place, we would get her into like the lobby area and unfold her wings, and then Shauna would have to stay there
Yeah.
for like hours on end.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, well, if you want to hang out in the lobby and take pictures with people, you're just stuck here.
And even when my wings were extended and I was trying to get somewhere, people would still walk into me. It's like, can you not see a big, huge prop, basically a human prop walking at you?
Yeah, it got so bad to where Shauna would have to find a wall to stand next to. That way, nobody could walk up from behind her and hit her wings.
I don't know what it was. It's like, are you blind?
Yeah, it was bad. Plus, for cons to limit how many people can be there, they would either have to let people in a small amount of time, or they would have to have a lower capacity in general, meaning they would only sell so many tickets. Like San Diego Comic-Con, for example. They only sell so many tickets. Unlike Anime Expo, they just keep shoving in people. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. But would you be willing to pay more so less people can go? Restaurants already have to operate at 50% capacity. Put that same thought into effect for conventions. Would you be willing to pay twice as much to go to a convention just so there's less people?
I mean, if I really, really had to go to this convention, right? Like, if I really wanted to feel safe going to said convention during COVID, it might be worth the money. It might be.
Because regular mediocre cons are already charging like $50, $60 a badge, and people don't even want to pay that.
Well, I'll say this because if they're going to actually regulate the rules, if they're going to actually push being safe and, you know, enforce those kind of rules, then I would pay more for someone who's really taking this stuff seriously. But if they're not, then I might as well just stay home, you know, because just because it's open doesn't mean you should go.
Because $50, double that, that's $100. Like, that may be doable to go to a con. Then you get to a ticket price like Anime Expo or Dragon Con, where it's like $100 a badge or some shit like that. Then you double that price. Would you really pay $200 to...
See, there you go with the prices.
Anime Expo at the door last year was like $120, $140. Would you pay $280?
They would really, really, really have to enforce the rules and really stick to those guns.
And then we take that back to the limit cap. AX pulled in 150,000 people. You cut that in half, that's still 75,000 people. Plus the $280 price tag. It's like, that doesn't sound any better either.
Because I know, like, if I'm thinking that way, just on some, like, maybe, there's a lot more people who are saying definitely. Like, no, if I will pay anything just to go to this convention. I would do anything. And it's like, I don't care if you follow the rules. I don't care if you do this and that. Like, even if they didn't follow any rules, people would pay extra just to go to that convention just because it's open.
Yeah.
I'd just rather stay home.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah. I believe that convention culture will change, but I don't believe that the rules will be enforced.
Nah.
They will post up signs saying mask required. They may check for masks at the door, but once you get inside, no one's gonna stop you from doing anything.
No one cares. Like, are they gonna have enough security and enough money to pay for said security?
Yeah, there's bathrooms all over the place. There's bathrooms all over the place.
Yeah, but they're not gonna go to the bathroom with you.
Exactly. They're not gonna follow you to make sure you're washing your hands.
Exactly.
They're not gonna follow you and make sure you're staying hygienic. Bathrooms in your hotel rooms, people don't even shower and wash their hands as it is.
And then if you really think about it, it's really no fun just to be
It's no fun to shower?
No. No.
Damn, I thought I had you.
It's no fun to be at these... Whatever. It's not fun to be at these things when someone's just hounding you all day. Like, did you wash your hands? Did you do this? Did you do this? It's like, I just want to go to a convention and be myself and be in cosplay. It's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable personally doing all of that. And I know a lot of people would feel the same. It's like, I don't want to be there just to get hounded 24/7.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You can put up all the sanitizer stations you want. You can build extra bathrooms, but people still have to take it upon themselves to be clean. And I don't think that's going to happen. Think about this. If conventions still have to tell people cosplay is not consent, do not harass or touch people, you have to tell people not to harass, grope, touch, or be inappropriate to other people. That should be common sense by itself. People are still having a hard time with that.
Gotta remind people to be decent.
I'm sure you being a attractive young lady at conventions, you still have people hounding you, saying inappropriate shit.
All the time. And it just comes from a place where you gotta know you're being inappropriate. You have to know, like, why do we have to keep reminding people to be decent human beings? Just because you're quote unquote giving me a compliment doesn't mean it makes it any better or sounds any better. Do you listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth? Seriously, like, nobody wants to be at these things and being harassed sexually or at all.
There's signs everywhere that says cosplay is not consent, but I'm sure you still have guys who put their arm around you and try to touch your ass real quick when they walk away. People can't even be decent in that way. How can we expect the masses to take it upon themselves to be clean?
Oh, but they ask you first. Nowadays, they ask you. Can I hold you in my arms? Can I pick you up? Can I put you on my shoulders? Can I take a picture of you even though you're not even in cosplay and you're just wearing your bra? I've done that before because when I did Alien, the Alien girl, at one of the past conventions, I took off the harness that I had on, but I was just wearing my bra. And this guy just walks by with the camera and says, "Oh, can I take your picture?" Dude, my cosplay is on the ground. I'm wearing my bra. What the hell?
I remember that. I was babysitting Shauna's armor. It's clearly on the ground.
The head, the harness, everything was on the ground. Can I take your picture? Dude, no.
Shauna was even like, "Can I put this on?" He's like, no, it's cool. It's cool that I'm not in my clothes. Like, you creep.
With that being said, I don't think people are going to follow wearing masks and washing their hands.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no hope.
Conventions will change, but unfortunately, I don't think some people will.
People won't change.
Then you think about things like the dealer's hall, right? The convention cannot afford to space the tables out any more than they already do.
People are already elbow to elbow with those
Exactly.
booths.
The booths are right next to each other. If they were to space it and limit the capacity of the dealer's room, they would have to charge the dealers more money. Or they would have to take an L and take half the amount of dealers and rent half the amount of tables. I don't think conventions can afford to do that because some conventions are struggling just to fill up their dealer's room as it is.
Right.
It's hard enough to get 4 people, 5 people in front of a booth. These booths aren't that big.
And the aisles are even shorter and more congested.
Yeah, I just don't see how that could be contained in there.
It's a jungle in there.
It is. All right, tell me if you agree with this. I think when cons do open back up, less people are going to go, not because of COVID, but because of this. A lot of people go to cons because they have FOMO, fear of missing out. Your friends are going, you're used to going every year, so it's embedded in your mind once May comes around. You always go to ASIN. Once July comes around, you always go to Anime Expo, right? Now that we've been forced to break that routine because we can't go anywhere, some people are A, realizing how much money they've been saving.
Right.
B, seeing how less stressed they are because they're not trying to make all this money to go to con, not con crunching, not planning, not doing anything. People start taking that extra money, start doing things or buying things that they wanted. A con comes back around, then they start to think, well, I could spend this $1,000 going to Dragon Con, or I could put rims on my car.
Right.
Or I can finally buy that DJ setup I wanted.
Right.
Or I can finally take that trip to Japan I wanted to do whenever they let us back in.
I was going to say.
A lot of people don't realize how much money they spend on cons. We spend money in spurts at cons.
Right.
Registration opens, we drop $50 to $80.
Right.
Couple months in advance. We forget about that. We buy the supplies couple months before the con or a couple weeks before the con. We forget about that money. Then we go to the con. We spend money on the hotel. Usually you're splitting it with some friends, so you pay them in advance. So when the con comes, you only think about what you're spending at the time. You're like, I only spent $200 on food this weekend. But then you forget about the hundreds and hundreds of dollars you spent months prior. So once you total up how much you spent on your cosplay, your travel, your room, and everything, you be dropping real money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, cons be costing people $500 or more if you include cosplay, that can go up to $1,000 or more, but people don't think about that.
Right. Because a lot of the times conventions are served as that person's vacation.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to do all of those things just to prepare for that.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, you do have a lot more money laying around, burning a hole in your back pocket because you have nothing to spend that money on. And then you look at your savings like, I have more money now than I ever have in my life. Wonder why that is.
Yeah, like
Man, I saved so much money. I paid some debts. I paid some bills. I'm like, shit, I got some money in my pocket left over. I can do all of these things. I bought myself a new sewing machine. I have money just to like be responsible for once. For once in my life, because I go to conventions and I travel. So that money went towards my credit card bills and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, I feel stupid.
Yeah. People don't realize how much money they drop on conventions.
Exactly.
Like, I had a conversation with someone like last year. They were all praising me because we got to go to Japan. They were like, Japan's always been on my bucket list. I wish I can go, but it just seems so expensive. I'm looking at this person. I'm like, didn't you go to Dragon Con, Colossal Con, Anime Expo, Fanime, ASEN, all in the same year?
And those aren't even all in the same place.
And this person lived in like Michigan.
Oh my God.
How much did you spend on Dragon Con alone? I'm curious. She was like, well, about $1,000. $1,000. $1,000. I was like taken back.
Oh my God.
My trip to Japan cost about $1,000. I lucked out, got some really cheap plane tickets for $450 for a round trip. I stayed in some really cheap apartments for $30 a night. My flight and my apartment rental were about $800. And that's for 10 days in Japan. The rest is up to you, how much you spend on food and how much you shop. But at the very minimum, I got to Japan and had a place to stay for 10 days, all for under $1,000.
Yeah.
I turned around and told my friend that, dude, you could have took that money and went to Japan.
Because people don't think about it like that. What you just said, they're spending this money for this convention and don't even know where the money's going. They spend that money and then it's out of sight, out of mind for the hotel, for the cosplay, for the travel, everything. So they don't think about it like that money adds up. So that same $1,000 that you use for booking your flights, booking your hotel, getting cosplay supplies, that same money could have taken you to Japan at any time.
Yeah, exactly. That was only one convention of her year. So just doing the math and rough estimates, this girl probably spent at least $5,000-$6,000 on those cons alone.
So you do have money. You just don't want to spend it on the things that you say that I'm lucky for doing. You know, it's like, it's not luck. It's just you spend your money on things that you want to spend your money on.
Yeah. It's that fear of missing out. It's that FOMO. Back to what I originally asked you. With that in mind, now that people are realizing how much money they're saving or where that money could be spent, do you think less people will be going to conventions once they open back up?
I think so. I really do, because then they have all this money saved up for that dream trip. I can't tell you how many people are talking about going to Japan, like their dream trip. Finally, all of a sudden, they have the money to do so. So I think now that a lot more people will start thinking in that way, like, all this money that I spent for Dragon Con could have gone towards a trip, I think less people will stop going to these conventions. And once that travel ban is let up, it's the sky's the limit, you know?
Yeah. To be honest with you guys out there in podcast land, that's exactly why Sean and I stopped going to so many cons. Ever since we moved to California, if it's not local to SoCal, we don't go.
Because even driving through California sucks.
Yeah.
It takes us a long time. So imagine us going out of state every month to these other conventions. That would take us days.
If this con wasn't for work reasons, like I wasn't doing a paid photo shoot or we weren't guesting or we weren't doing something that was generating money, we wouldn't go outside of the local SoCal area. We realized early how much money we were dropping on cons. Then we're like, shit, we could travel with this money. And that's what we did. We finally realized how obtainable travel really was. I encourage all of y'all out there that are listening that want to travel, seriously look into it. You will realize it's not that expensive.
And you can catch deals. We catch deals all the time.
Yeah. I've only been traveling internationally because we've caught these deals. You can make a trip as expensive or as cheap as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the research. Just get there. You ain't got to dine in a bunch of bougie ass places.
Yeah.
If 2020 has taught you guys anything, there's no more waiting around for the perfect opportunity.
Don't even get me started.
If you want to go on a trip to Europe, Japan, whatever, start making plans for it. At the very least, start saving the money for it.
Yeah.
We don't know when the travel ban is going to be lifted in these countries, but you can start by putting money away for it right now.
And I tell people that all the time because I take matters in my own hands sometimes. It's like the world before COVID, how it was, like how everyone was busy and the world was bustling. There's always something to do. There's always a meeting to go to. Your job's always busy. You cannot wait for your job not to be busy because your job isn't going to stop being busy just because you went somewhere and did what you wanted to do that day. And I tell people that all the time. And now look what's going on in the world. COVID hit. Take that time to travel or at least do something that you love because it's never the perfect time to do anything and you can't wait around for something to be like the perfect time. There's no such thing.
Yeah, the world's never going to stand still for you.
It's never going to. And
you just have to insert yourself.
You just have to go. Can't wait for something to just fall in your lap. You got to do these things while you can. Because now, look, you can't do shit, so.
Yeah, it's like, I used to be one of those people who was so dedicated to work.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Chicago, my supervisor, Guy, shout out to you, Guy.
Yes.
He told me something that stuck with me all these years later. I used to always pick up every shift I could. I was just excited to be working in the field I went to college for. I didn't care if I worked 90 hours that week. I would sign up for 10 more hours if it was available. We had all this vacation time. Guy told me, don't feel bad when you go on vacation. We're always going to be busy. We're always going to need you, but you need to live your life. This job's not going to stand still for you. There's never going to be a good time to leave. But me as your boss, I'm telling you, use your vacation time. We give it to you for a reason. Don't look back and wish you could have did this or could have did that.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, boss man, dropping a tear. Once opportunity comes to do something, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I've lived with that ever since. Now I'm looking back. I'm so glad that in 2019, we took 2 vacations, actually.
Yeah, we did.
We went to New Orleans for Shana's birthday. And then we went to Thailand in December. Shana was trying to be responsible. And she was like, I don't know, should we take 2 trips this year? And I was like, yes, I wanted to go to Thailand this year. Going to New Orleans for your birthday was just bonus. I'm not going to stray from my plans. Shana still kept trying to be responsible, but we need to save money. I was like, do you want to go to Thailand or not?
Hey, remember that time we had options? Remember that time?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when we had those options?
Yeah, exactly.
When we could do things like that and say things like that and be responsible and shit?
But
yeah.
Thinking back, what did I say? What did I say? I said, yeah, I want to be responsible. I want to save money. We shouldn't go on 2 vacations in 1 year, but I want to go on vacation while I can, while I'm financially, physically, and mentally able to. Some of y'all listening to the podcast, y'all don't know, I got in a really bad car accident a couple years ago. I should have died. My car was totaled. Everyone said I shouldn't have survived a car wreck, but I did. So from that day forward, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And that's what I told Shana. I was like, yeah, we should save money, but I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity to do this again.
Right.
Sure enough, we went to Thailand in December, came back right before Christmas, and then a month after that, all the COVID stuff started happening in America.
Yep.
People who were traveling, even in January, were being detained at the U.S. borders.
Yeah.
We had a friend that went to China as a layover, and when she got back to America, she got detained and quarantined for a couple hours. It goes back to what we're saying. There is no perfect time.
There isn't.
If you can, then do it. And I'm so glad I did it. Now look at the state of the world.
Exactly.
In a couple months from now, we probably can't even leave our state.
And I'm glad we did it.
Yep.
I'm so glad. And just to clarify, when I said I wanted to be responsible, because we had spent a lot of money in New Orleans and then turn around to go to Thailand right after that. Like, I was trying to be like trying to save money and stuff like that. But what was I saving my money for?
Yeah.
For doomsday, which is
Yeah.
going on right now. So you got to check yourself sometimes. Sometimes you get conflicted because you do want to save money. You do want to be responsible. But sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and just go and just take this time. We're not saying be reckless. We're saying just do the things while you can.
Yeah, that car accident almost killed me, but it was such an eye-opening experience to show me how life is really short.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, I had never traveled internationally.
Mm-hmm.
I've traveled to cons across the U.S., but hell, I never even went to Canada, and I lived in Michigan. I would go to Youmacon every year in Detroit. Canada is like 20 minutes away from Youmacon.
No.
You just drive across the border.
Right.
Now that I live in California, I never even went to like Tijuana. It's not that far from here either. It took that accident for me to go, you know what? I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to England.
And now you're the fun Renji.
Yeah, I'm the fun Renji now. Take advantage of the time you have in front of you.
Exactly.
Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. The perfect opportunity is right now.
It really is.
This goes beyond traveling. This goes beyond trips. This goes to something as simple as, I want to start a YouTube channel. You've been hesitant. You're not sure if you're good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Just put your phone on a tripod and start recording shit.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you ever wanted to be a singer, hell, rappers these days have lowered the bar so much, anybody can be a singer now. You know?
And that goes back to what we were saying earlier is these creators stop creating during this time. And I feel like this is the perfect time because myself personally, I got furloughed at my job for months. I used to complain all the time, like, because I stopped doing fashion for a long time. I started focusing on my fashion because I love making fashion. I kind of stopped and kind of veered away from that because I had a full-time job, because I was doing this and whatever. But I had all this time all of a sudden, and then I'm just like, you know what? Let's do this. And I was so inspired and was doing all these things, but I just feel sad that a lot of creators aren't doing that right now, and we have nothing but time.
Yeah. This is going to sound like I'm throwing shade. Maybe I am.
Maybe you
but
are. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I keep it real too much, but this time of quarantine has really shown who the real creators are and who the trend clout chasing creators are. Because creators will create despite anything that's going on.
Right.
They're inspired. They have ideas. But the one thing they never have is time.
Exactly.
So I've been seeing people that I respect that are senpais to me just killing it.
Right.
They're creating content one way or another. They're not just sitting there moping, because this has been the moment they're waiting for.
Exactly.
They've been waiting for time.
I feel like I've been benched for like a long time because I had a full-time job and I had to focus on certain things. And plus I traveled so far to get to that said job. And now that I have all this time, I just want to go full force with it.
Yeah.
And us saying this it's not really shade, but it's just an observation. It's just an observation. What we've seen on social media and stuff like that, where y'all are not creating, you're not taking this time and using it to your advantage.
What we're saying is not geared toward, it's just your average cosplayer, con goer, consumer. This is geared towards like the people who are claiming to be professional cosplayers, professional this. We make money off of content creation, influencers. This is geared towards them. A lot of people I follow have really just sat still during this time for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they don't have their hype squad. Maybe they don't have their glam squad, the people that make them feel like they're the shit. Or they don't have the photographers that kiss ass up to them. Sorry, not sorry, but a lot of cosplayers do have photographers at cons that just kiss their ass because of their Instagram numbers, because of this number, and it makes them feel high and mighty. Now that there aren't no cons and no one to kiss their ass in real life, they ain't shit, just like the rest of us.
And those numbers don't mean anything if you're not really creating. You're not doing anything that you say that you're a pro at, or that you say that you love so much. And it's just, again, just an observation, but we can't help but see that, you know?
Yeah, and you start to see the line drawn in the sand. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who really enjoys what they're doing? Who's only doing it for money? Who's really working? And who's just skating by on being a sexy cosplayer? Not saying that there's anything wrong with being a sexy cosplayer, because I
There's
think
nothing
I'm
wrong with it.
sexy and stuff, so I'd be dissing myself.
Right.
But it's just really showing where creators are at, where these so-called influencers are at.
That's why we are creators, because we create our own opportunities.
Yeah, a good example I follow Timothy DeLaGhetto, Tim Changsarangsu, now that he changed his name.
Yeah.
He has a show called Send Foods. The show is pretty much they travel to food festivals in different cities. Well, because of COVID, they can't. You would think his show would be crippled because of it. But him, being a creator he is, they're like, you know what? We're just going to order takeout. And they have different themed takeouts. Like,
Yeah.
he's filming all this from home. He's still carrying on with his show, doing what he can with what he has. And that's what we were trying to talk about earlier. Yeah, there's no more cons to go to, but that doesn't mean you still can't find a way to enjoy
Exactly.
cosplay culture.
Exactly. So speaking of professional content creators, what do you think they have to do now because of COVID and the regulations and stuff like that? What do you think they have to do now to make their money? Because after listening to Phil Mizuno and Yaya Han yesterday during Anime Expo Light, they had touched on a lot of really good points about what them as creators have to do. For example, them as professional cosplayers who go to these conventions all the time. Since they can't go to conventions anymore, they can't make that money.
Yeah.
And they talked a lot about other things that they could do personally. So what do you think? What do you think professional cosplayers have to do to survive now?
They definitely have to diversify their portfolio, as they say. COVID and this quarantine has showed us that you can't just depend on being at conventions.
Right.
Going to a con, having a booth only goes so far. Having a booth means nothing if you don't truly have the following to support you. I've said that in previous podcasts. Being a guest at a con, having a booth, doesn't mean shit if you really don't have a following. You can pat yourself on the back, but that's not going to put money in your pocket. You really have to offer the world more.
And that's one thing that Phil and Yaya had said, what I was talking about. They touched on branding and what professional cosplayers should be doing in general. They need to brand themselves.
Again, it's going to sound like I'm throwing shade, but it is what it is. A lot of professional cosplayers are beautiful, sexy girls. They've skated by on being a hot girl. They've skated by, oh, even guys too. A lot of the professional males are also hot cosplayers. They've skated by on just being hot cosplayers. People come to their booth to see them for a chance to flirt, take a picture, and buy a print and support. Now the conventions are taken away. That doesn't help you anymore. Being hot only went so far.
Right.
Yes, there are still some hot cosplayers making money online from it, but it's not as strong as it was. A lot of people buy your prints just because they want to see you in person.
And now there's OnlyFans.
Yeah, but now there's OnlyFans. Yeah, even with that, that is a way to diversify what you're doing. If you were only selling prints, well, now you got to figure out another way to sell your sex appeal. That's something that some people can do. I just feel it's not enough. In this world of cosplay now, there's a lot of talented people, there's a lot of attractive people, and there's a lot of people that have both.
Right.
Sometimes having just one isn't enough. You really do need to figure out other ways to generate income. If you're just skating by on being hot, that's only going to bring you so far.
Right.
Because eventually the next hot person is going to come through.
Exactly.
You need to reinvent yourself or rebrand yourself or offer something else within your brand.
Because what I was saying with the OnlyFans thing, you could sell prints and you can do that and whatever, but the next person is just going to come up with an OnlyFans where they offer a little bit more in that sense.
Yeah,
and if you're not willing to do that, then you're not really branding yourself.
That's a great point. I've had a lot of lady friends of mine who are lady cosplayers who sell sexy prints and they have OnlyFans. They have complained about how they're not making as much money off their OnlyFans or their Patreon because they're not willing to get more naked.
Right.
A lot of these girls are already in thongs and micro bikinis showing everything else. Then there's other people who are willing to show it all for less money. So unless you have something else to offer, you get capped off. Like, you have to be willing to do more. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be more naked.
Yeah.
It just means you have to do more, as in offering products or services to your followers.
You have to invest in yourself as a creator, because something that Phil had said and Yaya had said too that really stuck with me during the Anime Expo Light panel was Phil, for example, has little plushies that he modeled after a cat, and he put his name on it.
Yeah.
And he said that he made this product as a way for someone to take a piece of him home with them. Something that isn't just a picture or something that they're just going to put away in a drawer somewhere and not look at it ever again. They can take this little plushie home, put it on their shelf, and have that as a memorable part of like the convention they went to, something they can remember meeting Phil.
Yeah.
You have to be able to brand yourself. You have to be able to invest in yourself further. You can't just go to these things and sell your prints and just assume you're going to be successful off of that. And some people are, and some people were for a long time. But like you said, when it comes to that kind of thing, okay, the next person's going to do that, but then they're going to go a step further.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be more successful than you are because they're doing more and they're giving more of themselves to their audience. And
just as Phil said during his panel, you can only collect so many prints of someone.
yeah.
I like to post prints of my favorite cosplayers on the wall, but if I have like a whole bunch of the same person,
Yeah.
eventually they just end up in a drawer somewhere in an envelope that I've stored away. But I mean, as much as I like anyone, celebrity, cosplayer, musician, whatever, I'm not going to have a whole wall full of this person. It's like, I'm not 10 anymore. I'm not going to have Justin Bieber all over my house.
And me as a consumer, and also as someone who loves the fandom stuff, I love all of those things. Like, I am the worst consumer because I'm such a sucker for like advertisements and like keepsakes and stuff like that. When I see somebody only selling their prints or only selling this and that, whatever, I kind of just ignore them because they don't have something new.
Yeah.
And me as a consumer, I want to see something new. I want to see something else. I want to see something different, like something to excite me. Because if I'm going to follow you, if I'm going to be that fan for you, I need more from you. And that's just the world in general. You have to be able to do different things and evolve with the world and evolve with what's changing around you. If you're just doing the same thing every day, it's going to get boring.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I'm just speaking from a consumer standpoint, I want to see more.
It's not necessarily you, the creator, that's doing bad or doing wrong. It's everyone else is up in the game. They're constantly raising the bar, and consumers are so ADD. They're on to the next thing so fast.
Exactly.
They want something different. Remember back in the day when people used to buy music on like CDs?
Yeah.
You would get that CD, you would listen to it for months, rock it for months. But now, since most music is just digital only, you'll download that album, listen to it for a week, and be like, all right, what's next?
Exactly.
Give me something new.
It's an unforgivable market. It really is.
Yeah. It's the gift and the curse of digital content creation. People can create so fast that you're kind of forced to keep up with everyone else.
And it's unforgiving because as a creator, it's like when you finally get the groove of something and you're comfortable with it, all of a sudden it's like everything changed. Now everybody wants to see something different. It's like, okay, well, hold on a minute.
Oh, yeah. Even within cosplay, we come from a generation where people may create one new cosplay per convention.
Yeah.
No. Let me take it a step further. I come from a generation where people used to create one cosplay a year. I would go to Youmacon, see my Detroit friends, and that would be their new cosplay for the year. And when I met Shana and we started going to cons together, people started making one cosplay per convention just to wear something new. Fast forward to 2020, people are making one cosplay per day they're at the convention. So if the convention is a big con like Dragon Con, it's a 4-day convention, they have 4 new cosplays for that convention.
And I used to see that a lot, even back when we were going to conventions every other week, when some of our peers were like, okay, I'm going to do this for like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to change it to something in like 10 minutes after that. They have 5 new cosplays per day. I can't keep up with you.
Yeah. I was just about to mention how some people have AM cosplays and PM cosplays. But now, as Shana just said, people have multiple cosplays per day because they're only wearing them for shoots or for groups. And I'm like, how can you change outfits, change makeup, change hair that many times a day?
And on that same breath, what I'm saying, myself as a consumer, I want to see different stuff. Also, flip the script. Me as a creator, it's like I can't keep up with that either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I can't win. I want to see more from other people, but they expect the same thing from me too.
Yeah. We're so used to that being the norm now that some cosplayers have something new every week, every month. And Shauna and I, being people that make our own cosplay, style our own wigs, make our own props, that is a lot of money and time.
Oh, yeah.
There's times where I'll buy the cosplay, but I'll style the wig myself and make my own props. And that's demanding. Yet there's people out here doing everything from head to toe.
Take it a step further. Skip buying stuff. I don't throw anything away.
Yeah.
I might have a cardboard box or something just sitting in my apartment for months because I might need it later. I may need this one little piece of this box or container later for something.
Where do people hoard their materials? Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole
that
other
too,
topic.
Like, where do you keep your materials? Where do you store your cosplays after it's done? But that just goes back to saying it's the ever evolving world of cosplay.
Yeah.
Because some people out there, I'm blaming y'all overachievers. Y'all ruin this for the rest of us.
Exactly.
Y'all out there wearing 20 cosplays per convention, making one new cosplay a day. Like, y'all is ruining it for us. But now consumers expect that. Back to the original question of what do professional cosplayers have to do to survive?
Gymnastics.
Pretty much, yeah. You need a gold medal in Olympic gymnastics. It's a zoo out here. And showing up at cons and selling prints just ain't the business anymore.
It really isn't.
You better start doing gymnastics, drop a mixtape, have a cookbook, shovel
shoe
line, shovel snow in the winter. It's like
5 podcasts.
It's a hard world out there. It's like I feel for all my professional creators, but I really feel for all the aspiring creators just trying to get their foot in the door. Like, people have just raised the bar so high that it's a war zone out here. Speaking of war zone,
I know, right?
The firecracker went off at the right time. I'm not sure if y'all can hear it in the mics, but people have been shooting fireworks off all month. Since it's 4th of July week right now, it's like it's going on nonstop. So if you hear explosions in the background, just ignore it. I mean, it's also LA, and some of those explosions are gunshots. So, I mean, we're used to it, but you know. All right, before we end this podcast, let's bring it back to the original topic, cosplay life after quarantine. How will it change? Let me give you this one story about a convention that just happened in June. If you guys have been keeping up with COVID news within the country, Florida has just said, F you, COVID, you don't exist. We're going to do what we want. Well, Florida recently had a convention in June. It was a smaller one, mind you. It was some no-name convention that I never heard of. I just happened to stumble across the article. There was a blogger that goes to events and he does reviews on it. Boy, was his review terrifying of this convention.
Oh, man.
First off, masks were not required.
Oh.
They were suggested, not required. He went in anyway.
Nope.
To his not surprise, less than 40% of the attendees were wearing masks.
Wow.
The convention did nothing to enforce social distancing. The vendors' booths were back to back to back like they always were. There was no line control.
Yikes.
And people were just shoulder to shoulder walking in the hallways. There were people working for the conventions handing out flyers, not wearing gloves, not wearing masks.
Yikes.
The very least they did was, if you don't feel comfortable taking this flyer from us, take a picture of it, as they were holding the stack of flyers in their bare hands.
Yuck.
As he went on, the rest of the day, people were allowed to go in and out unchecked.
Are you sure this is not a horror story that you're telling me?
Yeah, right. It's a convention horror story indeed. But overall, he said it was disgusting. He was surprised he stayed there as long as he did. The panels weren't any better. All the ballrooms were jam-packed full of people.
Nope.
No capacity limits. If there were 1,000 chairs, 1,000 people got to go in.
Yuck.
There were no sanitation stations. There were no extra bathrooms provided. There was nothing. I cringed and the hair stood up on my arm when I read that.
Whoa.
There was nothing enforcing any rules except one sign that said, hey, please practice social distancing. We suggest you wear a mask. No one was enforcing this at all.
Ew.
Like, some of the dealers were wearing masks, but not even all of them were. Just a handful of them that were trying to protect their own employees were wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people didn't even care.
Rest in peace, Florida.
We're the armpit of America for a reason.
Rest in peace. Yeah, I kind of need a shower after hearing about that.
Right? If that's what's to be expected at some of these smaller conventions, I'll show up just to burn the bitch down.
Right?
Just to do the rest of the world a favor. Just burn that bitch down.
Not that anyone cares, apparently.
People were up in there with kids.
Oh.
Parents were bringing kids without masks.
Probably the same people who are anti-vaxxers,
Yeah.
anti-vaccinations.
Yeah, but we don't want to get into that.
Nope. Whatever you asked me during this podcast, if I would go back to the con, even if I had a little like inkling, like maybe, no. That's a direct no.
Oh, yeah.
No.
He had pictures to show this, too. Pictures to show how people just didn't give a
Nah. See, it's stuff like that where I could see, like, if they were trying, if they were, like, I was kind of on the fence with that, if, like, they were going to really ensure that I would be safe. But these people are not even trying.
Nobody was trying, though.
They're not trying.
It's one thing when the attendees are like, I don't care. But the organization, that's kind of your responsibility to keep your attendees safe. You have to put in an effort.
But they, Florida from the get-go, were already talking about, like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't even believe COVID. The same people that were just out there on, like, week 2 in quarantine, just like, yeah, we're at the bar. We're at the beach. Look at us.
Yeah.
Spring
Well,
break,
I mean, to their defense, a lot of the Florida swamp people can't even read the word COVID anyway. So...
And we know someone mutually who we've been seeing all over Facebook, just out there at the bars, traveling from state to state, just doing whatever they want. But guess where they're from? Florida.
Yeah, one of my best friends from Florida. I haven't seen her wear a mask once during this COVID. She went up to the East Coast to celebrate her birthday.
Oh
she was up in the New England area just having a ball. I'm like, girl.
Just out there like a roach. Not even giving a shit, like just out there, indestructible, living her best life. But you know what? To each their own.
Maybe that Florida sun just gave them some radioactive powers and that they're invincible to anything except stupidity. But we don't want to diss our Florida people.
I do. Because y'all is making everyone else look bad. I don't even want to step foot near Florida at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, nasty.
I mean, I can't respect a state that deemed WWE professional wrestling as essential.
As essential. Oh my God, who cares?
Who does that?
Who cares?
Who does that?
Oh my
All right. Anyways, guys, before we
need
go,
a shower.
Oh crap! I keep forgetting something. We are gonna slowly transition this podcast to its own YouTube channel. Be on the lookout for that. The YouTube channel will probably be called the Shinobi Squad Podcast. I'm sure no one else has that channel name. The Shinobi Squad Podcast will be moving to its own YouTube home, so I could separate my fan service Renji content from the podcast content. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, finally. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. Don't laugh. You're going to mess me up.
Okay.
I'm fan service Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella.
We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.